Greetings, creatures, cadavers, and curious mortals, and welcome to Radio Transylvania. Since it's September and the little ones are going back to school, tonight we're delving into two songs about children. While there are those who firmly believe that children and horror ought not mix, spooky themes are often present in stories aimed at kids, from modern animation to Disney classics, all the way back to the works of the Brothers Grimm. Fictional monsters give kids a way to learn how to manage fear without having to be put in any real danger, making them better prepared to face the world when they get older. On top of that, kids scare more easily. So when you write younger characters into spooky stories, it makes your audience picture the frightening scenarios through the eyes of a child, making the threats seem more imposing. Or, if empathy doesn't get an adult's heart pounding, their protective instincts might. Many humans, in their hubris, think that they could summon the strength or cleverness, if necessary, to take a vampire in a fight, but they would worry if the demons set their sights on a nearby child. Of course, this protective instinct is why the taboo around children and the macabre exists in the first place. But breaking taboos can lead to darkly comic works, which is the case with our first song. Before getting to the song, though, I want to introduce the album that it's from. Sing Along with Drac, performed by Sheldon Allman and co-written by Allman and Rod McMullin. The album was released in 1961 and is basically a lounge show, done entirely in character, with spoken bits in between the songs. Some of these bits introduce the musical numbers and the various characters singing them. While most are sung by Drac, Allman also performs as a henchman and a witch doctor. Others are things like letters from listeners or advertisements for fictitious sponsors.
A new product on the market. You take a teaspoonful of plasma in a cup of hot water. Et voila, instant blood. It will be available soon at all-night markets. So remember, when I say coffee, I don't mean coffee.
In the liner notes, it is said that the record was made in response to the trend of sing-along albums. While they don't mention any names, they pretty clearly refer to Mitch Miller, star of the then-new TV show Sing Along with Mitch. According to the notes, this album, featuring Dracula instead of a jolly man with a beard, was meant to appeal to, quote, the night people you see going to all the all-night horror movies and fleeing as the dawn approaches, the great, teeming, unexploited mass of night people, unquote. In short, listeners, this one was made with us in mind. Overall, the record really works to create a rich atmosphere, and I highly recommend listening to the full thing. Most of the songs are parodies of famous standards. Titles include Fangs for the Memories, This Can't Be Blood, and I Don't Stand a Chance with a Ghost. All of these songs are sort of half-spoken, half-sung. Without any further context, I might have assumed that Allman wanted to make a record but couldn't really sing. But that's not the case. Allman actually has a great singing voice. So I guess it was either a character choice, or, more likely, he had trouble singing in the Dracula accent.
The blood-stained towels that lie there on the tiling. Your head is in the sink, and still it's smiling. But I won't leave a clue. These ghoulish things behind me were you.
Either way, while the lyrics are very clever, none of these songs really appeal to me out of the context of the full record. None of them, that is, except for one. There is one song on this album that is not a parody and is not performed in a speak-singing fake Transylvanian. That song, Children's Day at the Morgue, is far and away my favorite number on the album, not to mention one of my favorite Halloween songs in general.
Today is Children's Day at the Morgue.
I'm fairly certain that the song was written by Allman and McMullin, but I did come across some wrinkles in my research that make me think it's possible that it was written earlier. There are mentions of a song called Children's Day at the Morgue in copyright catalogs, magazines, and even one high school yearbook throughout the 1930s and 40s. But no two of these sources credit the song to the same person, and none of them give any details beyond the title. The copyright catalog entry has a credit for the melody, but not lyrics, which makes me think it's an instrumental piece. And some other vaguer context clues make me think that others might have just been instrumental as well. Unfortunately, the trail went cold before I could get any real answers. I was unable to dig up sheet music, I was unable to dig up lyrics if they ever existed. It's entirely possible, and I would even say likely, that there were several completely different songs by this name. Some of the writers might have thought up the title independently, or some might have taken inspiration from others coming up with the title before them. Most of these songs, if they were indeed unique, are now lost to the ages, as far as I can tell. While it's probably either coincidence or just a title that inspired a completely new song, it's such a specific name for a song that I thought I would point out this finding, even if I couldn't completely get to the bottom of the mystery. In addition to portraying Count Dracula on this album, Sheldon Allman was the singing voice for Mr. Ed on the TV show of the same name, and wrote the theme song for George of the Jungle.
George, George, George of the Jungle, strong as he can be. Watch out for that tree!
Allman also has another novelty album called Folk Songs for the 21st Century. This one isn't exactly spooky, though there are some post-apocalyptic themes, and it's worth a listen if you like comedy and sci-fi, and don't mind that it's definitely a product of its time.
When you hear me call out, baby, kick the wall out and crawl out through the fallout back to me.
Anyway, Children's Day at the Morgue does a great job of straddling the line between cheerful and creepy. Both the lyrics and the music alternate between the two moods, though not always at the same time. For example, this bit of music sounds ominous to me. But the lyrics during these verses are talking about candy and smiling children and joyous laughter. On the other hand, the bridge has a melody that feels lighter and less intense, yet that's where we get the most morbid image in the song.
I love to see them at play, but it moves me to tears. Have to be sure that they don't take away souvenirs, the little dears.
That's also my favorite line, for the record. It paints a picture, it's hilarious, it's perfect. The fact that the main instrument is an organ works well here, since organs are associated with both creepy and cheerful contexts. From the Phantom of the Opera's candlelit basement to a sunny day at a baseball game. If you want to check out the full song, I've made a lyric video and put it up on the Radio Transylvania YouTube channel, partly in order to highlight the wonderful words, and partly because every other upload of this song on YouTube erroneously credits Thurl Ravenscroft with the vocals. I love Thurl Ravenscroft with all my black cold heart, but he did not sing this particular song. One of those videos has since corrected the mistake in the title and the description, but the video itself can't be changed, so it can still be a bit confusing, especially since Allman and Ravenscroft do sound so much alike, and I don't want to be spreading any misinformation. In order to promote Sing Along with Drac, at least I'm assuming that was the intent behind this, the label, Delphi Records, had Allman record a series of public service announcements about topics ranging from fast driving and school zones to household safety. Allman performed all of these as Dracula, and the main theme is that you shouldn't go around wasting perfectly good blood.
Dear friends, drive carefully. The life you save may be your own, but the blood you save may be mine.
A big thank you to DJ Pat K for creating a digital version of his copy of this PSA record for me. I will be putting a link to his Mixcloud profile in the episode notes, and if you love great old music, you should definitely go check it out. These PSAs were not easy to track down, but they are so strange and charming, and I am so glad that I got to hear them. And now I am so glad that I can share them with you. I have a video with all 5 of these PSAs up on the Radio Transylvania YouTube channel. So this obscure bit of audio is now a lot easier to find for the next person who takes an interest in it. Check it out if you want Count Dracula to tell you to please keep your blood in your veins until he can come get it himself. There aren't any covers of Children's Day at the Morgue that I could find, though I did get to hear it performed live once at LA Haunted Hayride. So some scare actor with a keyboard is spreading it around, which I deeply appreciate. Thank you, whoever you are, for doing the Dark Lord's work. And speaking of worshipping the Dark Lord, let's turn our attention to a trio of witches who suck the lives from children in order to gain eternal life, and discuss the song Come Little Children, written by James Horner and Brock Walsh, originally performed by Sarah Jessica Parker for the 1993 film Hocus Pocus.
Oh, I love Hocus Pocus!
I'm sure that most, if not all of you, are familiar with this Disney classic, but just in case, I'll say that in the context of the movie, this song is being used by a witch named Sarah Sanderson to put the local children into a trance, luring them into the clutches of her and her sisters. Composer James Horner, who also wrote the scores for Titanic, Jumanji, and many, many other movies, was originally supposed to write all of the music for Hocus Pocus, but he had to leave the project at the last minute. According to his Wikipedia filmography, he worked on 10 other films that were released that same year, so it seems like he simply overbooked himself. John Debney stepped in as composer and conductor. He reportedly scored the entire film in only 2 weeks. Relevant to my fellow spooky Disney nerds, Debney also created the soundtrack for Phantom Manor, the Disneyland Paris equivalent of the Haunted Mansion. Before leaving Hocus Pocus, Horner had written a 2-minute piece of music called Sarah's Theme. Since Sarah Jessica Parker had to be filmed singing the song, it makes sense that this would be the one track completed before the movie went into post-production. Brock Walsh, who is also credited for creating the chants and incantations for Hocus Pocus, wrote the lyrics for the piece, which is now better known as Come Little Children.
Come, little children, I'll take thee away into a land of enchantment.
Since the internet loves misattributing quotes to famous people, there has long been a rumor that the lyrics are actually a poem written by Edgar Allan Poe. This has been debunked in a number of ways. First, if you look through the complete works of Poe, this poem is nowhere to be found. Second, the word thee is a singular form of the pronoun you, so it's actually grammatically incorrect to use it with the plural noun children. Since Poe was just using the language of his day, he would be unlikely to make this mistake, whereas someone using thee in order to maketh their language sound ye old archaic could easily overlook this. Finally, Walsh has been directly asked about this and confirmed that his lyrics are original. He also says that he was obsessed with Poe as a child, and that influence can help explain how the confusion got started in the first place. The most comprehensive article I could find about this whole affair is a blog post from D. Melhoff, who actually reached out to Walsh for comment and did a lot of digging so that people like me don't have to. So the lyrics used in the film were absolutely 100% written by Brock Walsh. However, there are many covers of the song that use several extra verses, which Walsh had nothing to do with. These can be traced back to a person who goes by the name of Bellows, and posted their extended version of the lyrics online in December of 2002. The page featuring this poem was titled POE3, which probably contributed to the creation of this myth. I have to say that if you'd told me that this was an official full version of the lyrics, I would probably believe it. Bellows does a good job of matching the tone of the original, and I think the change from Garden of Magic to Garden of Shadows is a good one. It makes the tone darker and more mysterious. Not only do I like the meaning of the word better, picturing a garden that's dark and shadowy, but I also think the word shadow, as opposed to magic, just fits better in that spot. While the original song has a lovely, eerie vibe to it, both sweet and sinister at once. It is quite short, and you can certainly see why someone felt inspired to expand it, and why singers took advantage of those extra lyrics when covering the song. The movie only features one verse with words, though the music continues over more of the scene, with instrumentals as well as some la-la-la-las.
Hey, you guys! Don't listen to her!
While I really enjoy the song in the film, I actually don't recommend the original version very highly. The orchestrations are great, but it just feels like a first verse, not a full song. Kate Covington, also known as Erutan, created my personal favorite cover. Plucked strings give the song a suspenseful and spooky vibe, and the echoing, distant-sounding oohs create a sense of depth that draws the listener in, pulling us closer to the siren call.
Come, little children, the time's come to play here in my garden of shadows.
The Hound and the Fox have a cover as well. Since they're a duo, they add some harmony into the mix, which is a cool touch for a song that's usually solo. They also use whistling to good effect. With the reverb, it reminds me of a theremin, evoking a sense of otherworldliness.
Rest now, my children, for soon we'll away into the calm and the quiet.
Clovet May's version begins with a music box vibe, but drops a beat after the first verse, mixing the archaic style of the song with more modern elements, both in instrumentals and the vocals, which feel more like pop music than a witch's spell.
Little children, I'll take thee away into a land of enchantment.
This tonal shift makes the cover more scary than eerie, and it's a nice option to have for a playlist at an event where you don't want the music to get too slow. There are a few other YouTube covers around, but I was honestly a bit surprised that there weren't more, considering how popular Hocus Pocus is. If you know of any good covers of this song, or if you're inspired to make one for yourself, please send it my way. And that is all I have for you tonight. You can find links to full versions of the songs discussed here and in all of our episodes, either at radiotransylvania.com or on our YouTube channel, where we have playlists for each episode, plus one mega playlist for your shuffling pleasure. If you want to send in a comment, question, or Halloween song, please do. Go ahead and email radiotransylvaniapodcast@gmail.com. This episode was written, recorded, and edited by Sheila O'Neill. Our logo artwork is by Mark Patricio, and our intro and outro music are by Nico McAllis, with some assets from Production Crate. Subscribe and follow us on social media for more spooky content all year long. Thank you, and good night.